An attack on Iran is going to lead to several other wars. And these several wars are going to witness the transfer of power in the world. From the second of Dajjal's ruling states, I've mentioned his name for the first time, Al-Masih al-Dajjal. From the second of Dajjal's ruling states, and you have, of course, read Jerusalem in the Quran. Here we are. The first ruling state, Britain. The second ruling state, Uncle Sam. And the third and final ruling state, which will emerge in consequence of big wars which are now going to unfold, namely the state of Israel. So a new world order is around the corner.
Recent events in the Middle East threaten to escalate into a regional and then a global war, which, if not destroyed, then ruin the entire world and lead to the death of millions and even billions of people. Everyone understands the consequences. On the one hand, politicians and organizations in other countries provoke events that spiral the deadlock, as we're seeing today. None of them are prepared to call for a ceasefire. Everything that is happening inevitably raises the question of who needs all this chaos. Not since the end of World War II has the world come so close to a global military catastrophe that threatens to claim millions, if not billions of us, completely destroy the world economy and then plunge the planet into a collapse from which it will not escape.
Bankruptcy, a stunning fall.
Major restructuring, debt is piling up.
New conflicts have arisen in different parts of the world, or old ones have escalated, each of which carries the danger of escalating into a global war. Especially dangerous is the current conflict against the Palestinian people. On the one hand, it's supported by the leaders of the collective West. On the other hand, the entire Muslim world has united for Palestine. All of these conflicts have one thing in common. They're all instigated in one way or another by Israel, which uses the United States and its allies as attack dogs. Today, everyone knows America is not run by presidents, but by the Zionist deep state. The Zionist deep state are very specific characters who never appear on Forbes' lists of the richest people on the planet.
The government raises interest rates twice in one day to 15% in its all-out battle to prop up sterling. But after a frantic day's trading, the pound plunges again.
Today has been an extremely difficult and turbulent day.
George Soros made $1 billion almost overnight.
History is truly at a turning point. We do not yet know the full extent and the systemic and structural changes which will happen. However, we do.
George Soros, the founder of the Open Society Foundation, and Klaus Schwab, the head of the World Economic Forum in Davos, they're only talking heads, puffed up by their own pride, who are assigned to the role of a mouthpiece through which the world government gives them targets. And all the other political leaders and heads of leading international organizations such as the United Nations, the European Union, the International Monetary Fund, the IBRD, NATO and so on, only accept it for execution. The real Zionist deep state, who are directly in contact with Dajjal, the Antichrist, have satanic plans for humanity. They never appear on television, and they never publish their books. Everything they wanted to say is said in the books of Soros and Schwab. Some people tell me it's the Rothschilds or it's the Rockefellers. Let's take Rockefellers for example. These are families who not only manage the world's financial flows, they also own the largest multinationals. In the world of banking and industrial capital, it's very difficult for others to find ends. And these are very powerful families who have a say on when wars are declared, and they have a keen interest in Israel, and they'll do anything, absolutely anything, to protect it. Take the Rockefellers for example. To understand the worldwide scope of the interests of the Rockefellers clan, we can cite the names of some of the companies under its control and have major head offices in Israel. These are ExxonMobil, Chevron, International Harvester, Xerox, Boeing, Motorola, General Foods and many others. But it would be incorrect to say the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers are the Zionist deep state, because they're not. Whoever is in the deep state, we probably won't know, but what we do know is their agenda.
New world orders have been constantly unfolding. There's not one. And even now, we are on the brink of the emergence of yet another new world order. While you were busy with your exams, Israel is preparing to attack Iran. We don't know when the attack will take place, but we feel fairly certain that it's going to come. And when the attack does take place, a new world order is going to unfold. One of the first casualties of such an attack would be the collapse of the US dollar. You don't need a PhD to understand that.
Why would the Zionist deep state want to set fire to the Middle East and bring things to a global catastrophe in which a large part of the world's population could die? The answer lies in the declared and undisguised goals of the globalists, that is, to reduce the population of people to the notorious golden billion, of which a handful of people will represent the very globalist elite, and most of them will be its servants. This is exactly what the Hadiths, the religious texts of Islam, speak about when they prophesize the coming of the Antichrist, the Dajjal.
And basically none of the crops will grow, most of the people will have died, and the rest of us will be cannibals, civilization will have broken down, what the few people who are left will be living in a failed state like Somalia or Sudan, and living conditions will be intolerable. The droughts will be so bad there'll be no more corn growing. It will to stabilize the population. When I was born, there were
so what's wrong with the population? I mean,
with too many people. That's why we have global warming. We have global warming because too many people are using too much stuff. But if there were less people, they'd be using less stuff.
The Antichrist, the Dajjal, cannot rule from Jerusalem over billions and billions of people. The population must be reduced in order to control each and every individual on the planet. This is why we have absurd theories of global warming promoted by globalist structures like the United Nations and the European Union. And that's why green economy has been invented. It's gone so far now that they are promoting plant-based meat. Supermarket shelves are full of plant-based products. And my friends, it won't be long until they'll start to feed us insects. It's already happening. Then there's the global imposition of the so-called gender ideology. Nobody knows what a man or a woman is anymore, and it's opening up to all kinds of sexual perversion and allowing same-sex marriages. And such ideologies are being promoted because those who practice them don't have children, so the population reduces.
So yesterday I went to see my mum because I had the same conversation with her. Some of you may know this and some of you may not, but in the last couple of years I've really just been questioning my gender identity and who I am as a person. And I've been asking myself some really, really real questions. And I've come to the conclusion, and I want you all to know that I am a trans woman, and I've begun the process of transitioning.
There's more in store for the future. The World Health Organization intends to force all countries to sign the so-called Global Pandemic Agreement. Now, they wouldn't create such an agreement and pump so much money into it if they didn't know something was around the corner, something planned, something man-made. This agreement, in fact, recognizes the World Health Organization as the main world governing body through which the world government will manipulate all of humanity. The pandemic agreement provides for the introduction of an electronic vaccination passport. Now, if you recall, Israel was one of the first countries to introduce such thing, and these vaccination passports will become more important for citizens of all countries than a civil passport, and will be a pass to normal life. Without a vaccination passport, a person will not be able to move around the world. His access to financial resources and retail chains will be blocked. It will be like an electronic straitjacket for each person, the control system of the Antichrist, the Dajjal.
who it is who now leads that community of Eastern Christian Orthodox believers? The answer is Russia. That's the answer. And so, when the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wassalam, that you will make an alliance with Rome, he was certainly not talking about a Yankee alliance. Someone should tell that to the Pakistan Armed Forces. He was not talking about an alliance with Britain, or with France, or with Germany, or with Israel. When he spoke about an alliance with Rome, he was referring to an alliance with the Eastern Christian Orthodox Church. And therefore to those who now rule over that community, which is Russia. Russia. And so a Muslim alliance with Russia is anticipated by the Prophet ﷺ, and it will come.
My dear friends, it's very important to build a new community of people on the already existing religious and cultural basis of all people, which dates back thousands of years. In Islam, there is a concept of alliance between Muslims and the Christians in the end times. It's been prophesied. The true Christians of Orthodox Russia, who value their religion, their tradition, and want to protect their people from the Dajjalic Antichrist world order which is to come. This alliance or a community of people need to reject the mainstream narrative pushed by the globalist elite to make their agenda lag so much behind that it's dropped by them, or partially implemented at least, to provide some relief for humanity, because ultimately they are manipulators. They manipulate us to hand over power to them, and we mustn't do that by submitting to their scheming plans. The world will be in chaos in the coming years leading up to 2030 because idiots outnumber the good. The good worry about their future and their children's future, whilst the idiots are too happy watching football and guzzling down Heineken beer. The dollar will collapse, and when the dollar finally collapses and Israel takes over as the ruling state, no doubt there will come a man to offer salvation to the world from Jerusalem. It will be the Zionist deep state, the world government, that will point to this leader. Into his mouth will be put wise speech about peace, that mankind, exhausted by war, famine, disease, will gladly accept him as a ruler and the Messiah from heaven. That is why the war between Israel and Palestinians is escalating, and the victims are already in huge numbers, and the number of those who never wanted to take up arms but now will avenge their murdered relatives for the rest of their lives. This model will be used across the world in various different wars. The world government, the Zionist deep state, provokes violence and a global war that threatens to destroy the existing world, and as a result of which they want to form a world electronic concentration camp with the right number of slaves. But you have to understand that these are just plans. The globalists are not omnipotent. Otherwise, they would not hide their faces behind the backs of their puppets like Biden, Macron and Scholz. And it must be remembered that man proposes, but God disposes. The globalist elite hope to escape in their special bunkers that are built in full swing in Australia and New Zealand. In fact, an auction for their sale was even held at one of the sessions of the Davos Forum. These people who imagine themselves to be rulers of the world are very afraid of death, afraid of not using the loot of centuries. They want to live so much that even in old age they change their donor hearts. But they should know the power of God will reach them and destroy them wherever they are.
כלו כל הקיצור, ואין הדבר תלוי אלא בתשובה. אנחנו מחכים לקץ הגאולה. כתוב בגמרא, כלו כל הקיצים, ואין הדבר תלוי אלא בתשובה.